Hey there, we're back again. I would like to welcome you to Alpha Nerds for Guns of the Patriots. I am joined here
Oh my
by
god.
Seth, Jungle Evil Slykehouse, and I myself am Pedro Dirty Duck Carrasquillo. How you doing today?
Where does Jungle Evil come from? What is
That comes
this?
from Metal Gear 2 on the MSX, famously speed ran by me and Watson, if you remember.
I remember you guys playing it. I do not remember anything else about it. See, I haven't I'm a casual Metal Gear
Yeah,
nerd. I have not played anything before 3.
that is. Yeah, we've been down this rabbit hole so many times, and it just generally depresses me every time you say it. So, we're just gonna leave it at that. But yes, your nickname is from the Metal Gear 2 on the MSX, and your character is somebody who fight in a jungle, and the boss fight makes no sense, and we'll just leave it at that. Oh
Do
man,
you remember back in the day when the Metal Gear story somewhat made sense?
yeah, it was an interesting time where it made sense, and then when they released Metal Gear Solid 3, it still made sense. And then 4 came out, and then they just fucking threw that bitch to the wind. And then
Well,
Peace
see, like,
Walker and all sorts of shenanigans. And
so here's something you may not know about me, Pedro, and
mhm.
you might be surprised to hear this. For a long time, Metal Gear Solid 3 was one of my favorite games ever.
It's a great game, phenomenal
It's a
game.
great game. It is a phenomenal game, and I beat that game like 15 times. I loved it. I knew all the secrets, and then I tried to play the first Metal Gear game on PSP. What was that called? Metal Gear Solid
Metal Gear.
Portable?
Oh, what the card game?
Was it a card game?
Yeah, they were both of them were Metal Gear Acid or whatever hell they were. Metal Gear Solid Some I forget the title of it, but they were two like spin-off card games.
Well, see, like there was a good one, and then there was a bad one. I didn't play the good one. The good one's the one everyone loves on PSP. What was that?
Oh well, there were other ones too. There's Peace Walker, and then there was Portable Ops. Peace
Portable
Walker is the one
Ops.
that Peace Walker is the kind of third one, or not Peace Walker. Excuse me. Portable Ops is the third one, and then
Yes.
Peace Walker is the one that, for some reason, in Hideo Kojima's galaxy brain, that he's like, you know what, we're gonna put this important piece of the story, like you know, the follow up to Metal Gear Solid 3. We're gonna put that on PSP. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, so Portable Ops was the one I played on PSP. I never beat it. I don't remember anything about it
That
other
game's a
than
piece of
not
shit.
not liking it. But I remember Peace Walker came out, and Peace Walker is where the whole story got fucked up.
Yeah, but Peace
That
Walker is like a legendary game in like how it was critically received, and how it the how important it is to the story, because like Peace Walker, again, like I said, chronologically takes place after 3, and they're trying to, interpret the legacy of the boss. That's where Zero and Big Boss famously have their disagreements. Cypher is a thing. Like then he starts like that's when Big Boss starts setting up paramilitary companies and like the mercenary states, and a whole bunch of shit goes down in Peace Walker that is like console worthy, that probably needed to be in front of a bigger audience and have a bigger budget, which eventually they did port it. But that game is so important. That's where he meets Master Miller. That's where like all this shit that ties into the NES Metal Gear, the follow up, Metal Gear Solid, everything that like down the road. So much shit goes down in Peace Walker, and it drove me nuts that it was a PSP game. In fact, Peace Walker is the prototype to the Phantom Pain. Like if you really ever played both those games, they're very similar. You're setting up a forward operating base and all this, and you're recruiting guys. It's kind of little bite-sized chunks that are the missions versus a linear type story being told. So like that game is like a pivotal Metal Gear game, and I remember just it being just stranded on the fucking PSP for years until like it finally came to consoles in the HD collections.
Yeah, and then I played Metal Gear Solid 4, and that's where I checked out of the series because I
That
was
gives a
like,
kick in the dick.
you know what? I'm good, man. Like none of this makes any sense anymore, and it's gotten too complicated, and like I'm just over it. And then I never even played 5 because I thought 5 was annoying.
See, my experience with Metal Gear Solid 4 was very interesting. That was, you ever have like a moment where you you get so much reassurance of the console you bought, this is it. And for me, that was I had just gotten a PS3 maybe a year before, because I think that what Guns of the Patriots came out like 07, 08, I think, maybe. Yeah, I would say.
I think
I
I
had
want to say
just
it was
graduated high
6.
school. I had
Okay,
just graduated high school and gotten back from senior week, and with the money left over, I bought Metal Gear Solid 4,
nice.
and I remember playing it, and I remember that, like, sitting there, because that was when PS3 was viewed vastly different. It was getting the shit kicked out of it by the 360. Like, all the
Right.
games we were promised were either they were losing console exclusivity or not coming out. Like, and Metal Gear Solid 4 was that game. Like, it was the game that was a big exclusive. I remember it had like a fucking forever install. Each chapter had to install, and famously, like, the installs were Snake taking a fucking smoke break, which you might as well have gone and done, because like they took forever. And I just remember playing that game, and that's one of those games that you can only play if you're invested in the series. Like, if you're gonna start at Guns of the Patriots, buckle in, because you're not going to know anything. There's like 2 hour long cutscenes. Everything's just drawn out. Like, but it's one of my favorite games of all time. And I remember playing the final act, and like that sense of validation came in. Like, this is why I have a fucking PlayStation. Like, anybody on 360, you're not touching this shit. Especially when you get into like the Metal Gear fights where you pilot Metal Gear Rex. Like, it's like one of those moments where you're like, yes, this is it. One of my favorite
God,
all-time moments in gaming for me.
what is it about giant mech suits that just get your dick hard? I mean, there
I,
is something
I
awesome about
it's
giant mech
it,
suits, isn't it?
it's probably my toxic masculinity, but it's
So
just,
cool, dude.
yeah,
Gundam, the Xeno
yeah,
series, Trails of Cold Steel.
yeah.
Like,
Just
I
something
mean,
about
it is
mechs
just,
and men, and
yeah.
it just ah,
Let's get
I,
a giant mech suit and fucking beat the shit out of each other.
right.
When America had their mech battle against Japan, hey, we fucking won, motherfuckers. We beat their asses. They didn't
Hell
even have
yeah.
anything.
No, we love mechs. We love our mechs.
Now, Pedro. Speaking of Trails of Cold Steel, I'm on the grind set mindset now.
Hell yeah.
I'm deep in there on Trails of Cold Steel 4. And by deep in there, I mean I just beat Act 1 because for some reason they split the game into acts, and
Yeah.
each act is 30 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I'm in there. I'm having a blast. I'm glad we had that conversation a couple weeks ago, and I'm back.
I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're back, because
Um,
four is a good time. Like, four is, it's a basically a culmination of like the past 3 games and everything that was good in those 3 games in the one nice package. It's very polished, and like it does a lot of fan service, but the story, like, I feel like that arc, the way they kind of put a ball in that arc, I really liked. There's some moments in the later half of the game that are really, really powerful. I just think like the storytelling in that game is second to none, and it's a testament to Falcom and the way they are dedicated to just world building and just making sure every aspect of a story is fleshed out, and simply not giving a fuck. We're like, you know what, this is gonna be a 300-hour arc, and either you're in or you're out. You're either on this train or you're out.
yeah.
And I just think, I don't know. I just really, really like Trails of Cold Steel 4. It's probably one of my favorite RPGs of the last 10 years, I would say. And I can't wait for the follow up to come, where we get that Trails in the Reverie, and we see because there's a little side story at the end of that Erebonia arc that ties into the Crossbell arc, and there's still some untold stories that we're not getting, which is a little bit frustrating. But I have full faith in our buddies, in our lovely Falcom, that they were going to deliver us some more goodness. They've been
Well,
good to
yeah.
us.
So, according to Falcom, Tales in the Reverie is the real end to Trails of Cold Steel.
Really, I figured
Because
that.
when you buy their set, Trails and Reverie comes with it. That is like the final chapter for them.
Outstanding.
So I don't know. I don't know much about it. All I know is that I went out of my way to learn how to put an English patch on the Tales of Reverie, and I sent you that video, and you never even responded to me, and it broke my
Oh,
heart. I thought you were in, and it
I
broke my
glanced
heart.
at it. I'm because like that's for PC, right?
Of course, it's for PC.
Yeah. See, I already own the fucking game on console, so I'm just kind of like,
You in the Japanese version, you
yeah,
can't. You have to rebuy it anyway.
yeah. That's what the hard L is. But I'll watch that video, because Trails of Reverie famously has a massive fucking spoiler on the cover that like. Well, maybe massive is a bit of a stretch, but it's a bit of a spoiler if you start paying attention. I won't tell you what it is just yet. I'll wait till you finish Trails of Cold Steel 4. But famously, Trails games have had spoilers on the fucking cover. Like, you remember?
I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. I've seen the cover to Trails of Reverie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't.
It's a spoiler.
Does it spoil Cold Steel 4?
It spoils. No, I wouldn't say Cold Steel 4 per se. It just spoils a certain character that is kind of like alluded
I don't know
to.
who the fuck this is. I don't even know who the fuck that is.
I don't want to. I mean, if I'll tell you when you finish the game, just so you have more context. But
okay, I was gonna say, because like if it's a spoiler, I don't know who that is.
Well, it's a character that's been kind of hinted at throughout a lot of the arcs in the Cold Steel series. So I would say that's who that is.
So people seem to love Trails and Reverie, though. Like, apparently it's a big deal. And what I'm seeing now from the Falcom subreddit is that the next game, Kuro
no Kuseki.
Yeah, whatever they're gonna name the English version, that is apparently like a banger. Like,
it's a banger. Stage 5 banger.
Yeah.
So
we got a banger alert, and the English patch for that just dropped. So.
Oh wow! So now that we're on to kind of what we're playing, I'll bring this topic up in the lineup. I guess we'll lead off with it. But before we do that, do you have anything else you were playing, sir?
Dude, not really. I mean, one thing I will say though is getting this game on PC was key. Okay. Absolutely key, because I mean, Steam Link just works way better than the PlayStation Remote Play or whatever it is it's called now. The Remote Play always had a massive input delay to it, and you can't use it over 4G, and there's no USB controller support for it. Has never worked great for me. I never really liked the Remote Play. Now, there was a third-party app that you can get on Android that worked a little better for the PlayStation Remote Play, but Steam Link, flawless for me.
Yeah, I love Steam Link.
I can use it over my 4G. I hook in my Razer Kishi on my break at work or whatever, and I just go to town, and I'm able to just continuously grind away at Trails of Cold Steel 4, because it is a long game, and I can get in there whenever I want now. So I'm all about that life.
Nice, very nice. As far me, I've still been playing Demon's Souls on PS5. Still get my dick kicked in, so no update there. But I remember I sent you a message about a game that needs to be on your radar, which is Live Alive, or it's either Live Alive or Live Alive. It's got a weird title because, of course. But this game has its fucking hooks into me. I'm gonna finally buy the full game. I've been dabbling with the demo, and like I'm in. I'm fully in on this game, and it's one of those things, like, it scratched my old school JRPG itch. So a little bit of context for this game. I'm sure you've heard of it at this point if you've been watching YouTube. There were a couple of YouTubers reviewing it, but it's a remake of a game that never came out on the Super Nintendo. So it's from that era. It's from the golden age of the 16-bit RPG, the 16-bit Square RPG. So it's a Super Nintendo RPG. If you look up videos of the Super Famicom version, you'll see that beautiful 1994 Square logo, where that was that stretch of the Dynasty. I'll call it the Dynasty years. They were basically they were the Chicago Bulls of RPG making, and so this is right from that era. And I see how you remember Project Octopath, like where they had the
Hmm.
different stories. I see where they got that concept from because it comes from this game, where there's seven different scenarios. One being, you're in Edo, Japan. Another one you're in the, I forget what period of it, China. Then one you're in the Western. One is distant future. So there's a bunch of different scenarios with different characters, but I I can't quantify how in love with this game I am. It's just, it feels like that Chrono Trigger, that Final Fantasy VI. You feel that energy from this game, like you just feel it. And like I started with the ninja scenario, and you can name your character. I named my ninja Hanzo because that's a fucking great ninja name.
It
Uh,
is. Yep.
and you're going through this arc, and you have to rescue some important prisoner, but it tells you could either do a full pacifist run on this, or you could kill everybody. And I think the game wants you to go full pacifist, like stealthy, because like when you do kill somebody, it goes like after you win a battle, it'll go lives taken, and it'll go like the number of people you've killed. So it kind of guilts you into it. I got to 3, and I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to like kill people. So I've really been into this. After I finished the ninja arc, I think I'm just gonna stop and just buy the full version, um, because like I am really into this. I don't want to keep getting teased. I want to go balls deep. I want to take her home and make an honest woman out of her, if you will. So why I bring this up? I've been What's up?
Nothing. I just you had quite a long intro there, and I thought that was your whole statement that you were having fun playing this. But no, that was just the lead in to
That's
the
that's the lead. That's the
okay.
lead into what I'm actually about to bring up.
I just wasn't expecting it. That's what it was really funny.
So what? Why I bring this up is because I think we got to take some accountability here. So
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
So I'm looking at Square. I got my eyes firmly. I'm eyeballing Square Enix, and I'm noticing they are they they're on fire right now. Where they've been
They're on the
releasing,
upswing.
yeah. I wouldn't say they're on the upswing, but they might be back because like some of the games they've been putting out, specifically on the Switch, and what they're doing with Final Fantasy 14, and the positive momentum with Final Fantasy 7 remake, and again some of the games they have upcoming where they're putting out Front Mission, that's coming back. I'm trying to think what else. Dragon Quest is getting a new, just like a retooling, I would suppose, and I'm pretty impressed with where Square is, and and them being back is such a good sign. Where
I agree.
I think we're gonna start getting more just great RPGs. Even a game like Triangle Strategy, which is a fucking terrible name for the record, but
Oh yeah,
like I've
definitely.
heard nothing but great things about this game. Where famously, some YouTubers have compared it, which I think is a bit of a stretch, but I think it's high praise. It's like got a Game of Thrones esque plot where some of the decisions you make have like dire fucking consequences. And like, say if you and I were both to do a playthrough, like we would have vastly different experiences based on the choices we make. And I think that is very high praise. And like I love RPGs like that where choices matter, and it's got a good combat system. I love the art style. So I really think that Square Enix, excuse me, is like really making a strong fucking comeback, and I couldn't be any happier. Thoughts, Seth?
I 100% agree with you. Now, I think we can trace this success story back in a pretty direct line because if you remember correctly, there was a really dark period
Yes.
for JRPGs for that lasted about 10 years. Um, where the only thing we had to play was like the Atelier games
Yeah.
and what are those nonsense games that you play as the video game consoles in the console wars called? What
Oh,
are those?
is it Hyperdimension Neptunia?
Hyperdimension
Yeah,
Neptunia. Yeah,
I've
there
never
was like
played one of those.
me neither. There was like crap like that coming out constantly, and there was no big JRPGs anymore.
No,
It was like done. We lost the JRPG genre in North America.
and I think we
And
blame
then
Square for that.
I mean you could because Square changed their approach and they wanted to get more of the Western audience. And I don't think what they realized was they already had a dedicated Western audience that was committed to their games. Well, I think what they realized when they did, like, they had like small experiments, right? They had like
Yeah.
Bravely Default on the 3DS that sold
Great
really
game.
well, and I Am Setsuna, which made a lot of waves. Okay, game.
Yeah.
And then they just they start putting out these feelers, right? They start porting games, and then they're like, okay, oh wow, people actually really do want these games, and they create Tokyo RPG Factory to kind of handle their smaller games, and they realize that like these Final Fantasy fans, the guys that paid for their or the guys that got grown up playing their games,
Yeah.
have real money now, real adult money, and this is what they want,
Yeah.
right?
Feed me.
So
Feed the beast.
yeah, so now you get games like Triangle Strategy that looks awesome, and there's this other game coming out that looks pretty similar called the Diofield Chronicle. Is this on your
Yeah.
radar at all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
This
it's on the
looks really
radar.
cool as well. I mean, this looks just like Final Fantasy Tactics, and I agree with you, man. Square Enix is back, and I think that they made the right move. I know this was like really controversial, but they made the right move getting rid of a lot of their Western studios because they never figured it out, right? Square
Yeah.
Enix had all these Western studios, and they just never figured out how to make it work. And I think them going back to their bread and butter is absolutely a success stories for them.
So here in not that like I want to give Square their shine, and I keep calling them Square like I hit in the head. It's Square Enix, but anyway, everyone knows what I mean. But
I do the same thing.
I want to give them their shine because they definitely are doing good things. With them in the Western studios, I just felt like had they taken a hands-off approach, like yeah, we'll publish this, we'll we'll do whatever it is and put our name on it and put it out because they did put out some good stuff. Like I like the Deus Ex games, I like Tomb Raider when they were putting out. And I even liked Guardians. Didn't like Avengers, that was a turd. But like, if had they just left it alone, like I think it would have been fine. Like I thought they were just way too much meddling, and their expectations were through the roof for like I didn't understand how like a game like Bravely Default won't like it sold well, but like nothing. It didn't chart or anything like that. But a game like Deus Ex sold really well, but that was a disappointment. And then like Hitman, same thing. Where I'm like, I don't understand the double standard here. Like I'm not really getting what. It just didn't make sense. It was very mixed messaging, and definitely a weird period for Square because they would still have these moments of clarity where we'd like, you motherfuckers, you fucked up, blah blah, and then they would put out a low key banger where the 13 series started off bad, but then like 13-2 well received. So it's like how like they would have these moments of clarity, these wild inconsistency, but now that Square being healthy and back, I am so happy for the JRPG scene because we have Square putting out really great games. We have Bandai Namco putting out still quality Tales games. We have Atlas still putting out great Persona games and SMT games and being real creative. And now we have the fourth horseman. We have Falcom, who has been just steadily getting putting out great games. They've had a history of putting out great games. I don't think they've ever really done bad games. I'm sure there are games that have not been well received, but I've never seen a game from Falcom that's like, yo, this is a piece of shit. Like this isn't of quality. And I just think it's really great for the RPG or JRPG specifically that genre that there's so many options right now. And I feel like we're back to that. I wouldn't say back to that level of golden age, but I think we were definitely in a renaissance. I'll say we're in a renaissance.
See, I'm not. I'm comfortable saying they're on the upswing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to point out a couple of things that have happened recently.
Okay, couple dings.
A couple. They've stumbled a few times because I looked it up and I was like, I knew there was a few things that they're still making dumb decisions, right? The Pixel remasters, for some reason, not coming to PlayStation.
There's got to be a reason for that. I don't.
Makes no sense. No sense at all. Babylon's Fall was a massive failure, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely massive failure. Stranger of Paradise.
Weird game.
Weird game. I'm okay with saying that it's fine because it's just a goofy game.
Yeah.
And it from people that have played it, say it's really cringy, but it's okay. The Chrono Cross Radical Dreamers edition. That one hurt me a lot.
Yeah, they hurt my boy here.
That was a painful fumble of the ball. All
Yeah.
right. But I also want to reiterate that Star Ocean is coming out this year.
That one has me nervous.
That is dangerous because we haven't gotten a good Star Ocean game in like 20 years. So there's that. And then let's not forget the Kingdom Hearts 3 was only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
All right. It was only 3 years ago. Coming up on 4, but only 3. And I just can't forget that.
I just feel like they had to push that game out. I feel like they shat that game out. Not that like the game came out broken or anything. It was just kind of like I just felt like that was more of a Nomura thing. I felt like that was more on him than per se Square Enix. Like I don't know. Like I just feel like I place a lot of my blame on him, and his management style. But then he also helps with Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was fucking brilliant. But he had help, and it's just like I don't know. I don't know about all him.
I'm okay, dude. Like listen.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have it all right? Sometimes you're really good at one thing. I'm totally fine with us leaving Nomura on Final Fantasy VII and just saying, hey, you're good at this. Just do this.
Just do this.
All right? Just stay here for the love of God. Just stay right there. Please. Because here's the other thing. We have Forspoken coming out this year as well. Or next year, early next year.
Yeah, I don't think that's coming out this year.
Forspoken looks like a giant turd.
Yeah, that game looks like an L. That's a fat L coming.
Everyone knows it, and every time Forspoken gets shown off, everyone's like, we don't care.
Yeah.
But the thing with Forspoken is, it's made by Luminous, the makers of Final Fantasy 15.
Yes.
And, I don't know, man. I just don't feel good about Forspoken. Now, we do get Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion this year, though, and that's I'm ready for that, buddy. My body is ready. So I think it's fair to say Square Enix on the upswing. We'll see how 2023 works out for them because they have 7 Rebirth, they have Dragon Quest 3 HD Remake.
I think that's going to be great. I can't wait for that.
They have Dragon Quest 12, The Flames of Fate, and Kingdom Hearts 4 all on the docket. Not for next year, but not just for next year, but like those 4 games are their next upcoming games, and Final Fantasy 16, of course, as well.
Yes. I just feel like overall, like, and you can give your thoughts on this, like the JRPG scene, that genre. I think there's so much great quality that I feel like we're in the golden age of that genre. We're back.
Oh,
I feel like we're definitely back.
Absolutely.
And it's lovely.
Tales of the Abyss was one of my favorite games last year. If not
Tales of Arise, sir.
What did I say?
Tales of the Abyss. Great game. But
yes. Tales of Arise, yes. Tales of Arise was phenomenal and probably my favorite Tales game.
Okay.
Just a beautiful, a brilliant comeback for the Tales series after the fumbles that were Zestiria and Berseria, which I loved. I think Berseria is a great game, but I think that people were just so tired of the Tales series by that point that it didn't matter.
I'm famously still on a break from Tales. Like I'm still on a break.
You did it to yourself.
Yeah, what famously I did. Famously, and we have a world premiere like admission on this show right now. So my dedication to being a fucking troll is probably unhealthy at this point.
Yes,
but I think I burned myself out on the Tales series playing the Azealia games. Like I famously would give you a bunch of shit that like about Tales of Azealia 2, which definitely has its problems. And did I like the game? Yeah. But did I like the game as much as I said I did? No. But
I know that.
It's one of those things. Like after playing those 2 games, I'm not a Azealia guy. 1 or 2, I don't like them. But I burnt my. Yeah, like my opinion on Azealia 1. I fucking hate Jude. I think Mila sucks. I could go on a whole rant about that game, and then in Azealia 2, like the best thing they ever did was get the protagonist to shut the fuck up. That's why I like Luger, because he he does all the combos. He's got a lot of versatility to him. But then when the game's like, oh, you have what's that? You got 5,000 gold. How about you pay me?
Yeah, it's the worst.
I actually paid off the debt. Because like I hated it that much that like I grinded until I paid off the entire debt.
Insane.
Yeah, When I'm doing this, I burnt myself out in the Tales series because like before that, I loved Tales of Symphonia. Tales of the Abyss is actually my favorite Tales game, and I allow Tales of Legendia to exist. I tolerate its existence. I understand what it is. It's the black sheep. It's because they took the battle system and went back to the classic Tale formula, and a lot of people
Yeah.
who played Symphonia and the Abyss were like, what the fuck?" But I understand why it happened, and we'll just leave it at that. We'll leave Tales of Legendia on its own little island and say hello. And it's that game that like at Thanksgiving it sits at the kid table, like you don't want it,
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm famously still on a break from Tales, but that Tales of the Arise looking mighty tasty, and
It's really good.
I'm waiting for a sale where I can get it physically because I definitely want it in the library. So I think around Black Friday I'm gonna be eyeballing, seeing what's going on, plotting,
Well, like
scheming.
what's your sale price? I mean, it has to be cheap by now, right?
Uh, Probably my sale price is probably $25.
There's no way it's not $25.
I don't think it's $25.
PS5?
Yeah.
Ah, 31. It's getting
Soon, man. Soon. Just because I know
This whole-
Bandai Namco games famously get dirt cheap, and so that's definitely stuff on the radar. But did you see the new Digimon that's going to be coming out? Digimon Survive.
I did that. That is a game that I would take right off your radar. Just get it
Yeah.
off there because this game has been in development hell for like 5 years.
Oh wow.
So I would just hold off on do not put yourself on the hype train whatsoever. Because
No. Well, when I saw it was like a grid-based game, I'm like, oh. I thought in that franchise we were hitting a stride where we were getting Cybersleuth games, and they were.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, I don't know. Like they were passable games as far as like a gameplay perspective. The stories are fucking brutal, but
Yeah.
I thought the gameplay wise, like they reminded me of like Pokemon SMT. Like I was into it, and then we just like we're gonna stop making those. We're done with that.
Yeah, because like that was so weird because you're right. Cybersleuth was like a blast to play through. I loved my time with Cybersleuth.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, now we're done.
Yeah, we're done.
Okay. Because
Yeah,
they
we're done with that.
they made a second Cybersleuth.
Yeah, Hacker
game.
Memory, which I haven't played, but
You don't need to. That's the crazy thing about Hacker Memory is that it's literally just the first game.
it felt like DLC when I saw it.
Yeah, it's literally just the first game. They added a few new Digimon to it.
Oh wow!
And you revisit all the same areas.
Oh
okay.
no!
Dude, I'm telling you, this is like a carbon. It's almost bizarre. It's like a carbon copy of the first game. And what else was weird about it? They changed the story just enough that they could call it a new game. Like they went and did the bare minimum for Cybersleuth. Or what was it called?
Hacker Memory.
Cybersleuth 2. Hacker Memory. Yeah, Hacker Memory was like what the first game should have been originally. Even though the first game was totally passable, Hacker Memory is the same exact game with a few new Digimon. You don't need to play do not need to play the first one if you played the second one.
Wow. That hurts. That hurts me. But yeah, so overall, like I said, I feel like JRPGs, it's a great time to get back into JRPGs. I feel like now there's so many JRPGs just fighting for my time where I'm like, whoa, like we're not used to this because like now Xenoblade 3 is coming out. I still need to play 1 and 2. I know you famously said that you don't really need to play 1, but I feel like I need to get in there and just get the full scope.
I think 1 for you can give 1 a shot.
Yeah.
Because I think it hits different for different people. I do not like the characters or the battle system in Xenoblade 1. I never have. I really tried to like them. I think they're all really boring. I think the voice acting is atrocious. And I think the battle system is just like, it's not for me. It's very positional based and it's kind of a pain. That being said, the world they set up in Xenoblade 1 is really cool. You got the two mechs that got locked in a grid fighting each other, and then the world just kind of grew off of them. I think that's really cool. Now, Xenoblade 2 buckled down on the gameplay department, added in a gacha element, which is microtransaction free. It's just that fun dopamine release of opening something and seeing what you got.
Love that.
Yeah, it's great. They added in a whole bunch of like Easter egg blades. You can get like the Xenosaga characters, and that of course that's really cool. You can get through DLC some of the characters from Xenoblade 1 on your party as well. That's awesome. And you can do in Xenoblade 2 what I loved about Trails of Cold Steel 2, which is if you understand the battle system enough and you put the time in, you can completely break that game to the point where you are untouchable. And I love games that allow you to do that. Because if you notice in Trails of Cold Steel 3 and 4, they nerf certain things. They change the abilities around because they're like, okay, well, motherfuckers are just breaking this shit left and right. But in Trails of Cold Steel 2, you can get like infinite delay Reen. You can get a complete evasion tank fee, and you can get.
I had evasion tank fee when I discovered that. I was like, oh baby.
What's her name? The witch Emma. You can get Emma to do like an unlimited amount of turns, right? Because you can just break that game completely. You can do the same thing in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I really love that about RPGs. Now, I will say in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the voice acting did not get much better. It got it slightly better. I think the voice acting for everyone except the main character is good.
He's like a giant
goofball. The
main
character sucks.
Rex, he's like a giant goofball.
But he did grow on me eventually throughout the series because the story is really not about Rex whatsoever. He's just the conduit for which the story takes place. The story is really about everybody else. So Rex might as well just be a silent protagonist. Unfortunately, he's not.
So here's what's crazy about the Xenoblade series that you remember. I know we don't like to talk much about the Wii U days. They were definitely dark times. But there's still a Xenoblade game trapped on the fucking Wii U that like is now, I'm afraid if they don't port it over to Switch, which I don't understand why they haven't, that it's going to end up going like Panzer Dragoon Saga route because Xenoblade Chronicles X is like now an $80 to $90 RPG.
I understand why they haven't, because they had this plan, right, for Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and 3, and X does not connect to them in any way. But 1, 2, and 3 do connect.
Yes.
So now you have like this cohesive story with 1, 2, and 3, and then you have X, and that would just be so confusing for someone trying to get into the series. Also, X doesn't really thematically line up with anything about the series other than there's mechs in it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they were doing with X. Doesn't make any sense.
I feel that game's got to come at some point. Like that before the Switch's life cycle's over. That game has to come. I think Wind Waker, the HD stuff, like that needs to get over there. I think there's a Paper Mario game that I reported. There's a couple games that that are just randomly stranded on the Wii U that don't make sense.
Oh, my friend, you're forgetting. They're not randomly stranded. This is Nintendo we're talking about. They never waste $1. All right, Nintendo never wastes $1. That you will see Xenoblade Chronicle X come back for a limited time in a very limited physical run,
and then it'll go away.
And then it'll go away again, only to come back in 15 more years. That's the way it's gonna go. That's Nintendo. They never waste $1.
Because I got scared because, like, famously, that my Wii U was stolen. My Wii U, I had a launch Wii U. It's somewhere out in the ether. The poor thing stolen. That I never cared enough about the system to replace it. But
from a man your dad may or may not have killed. We're not sure yet.
We're gonna go with yes. But we got Tokyo Mirage Sessions and Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I remember being so happy when Tokyo Mirage Sessions got announced for Switch, because I was like, finally, this game is not trapped, because I still have the Wii U version sealed. out of principle, I still have it. Like, I still have that and Xenoblade X sealed, because I'm like, I don't want to get rid of these. Like, I famously do not get rid of RPGs. I hang on to them like they're, I don't know why I do that, because they're just discs, and disc rot will eventually sit in.
Except, and I just want to remind you of this because I did you a favor here. Except when you were like depressed, and you left your Final Fantasy IX, your cherished heritage copy of Final Fantasy IX, and you're like, just get rid of it or something. I don't want it anymore. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hold on to it for when you're
Those
ready.
Were dark times.
Yeah. And you know what? One day you were ready again, and I knew it was coming. It sat right back there on my shelf until the day you were ready.
For safekeeping. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So in wrapping that up, do you have any final thoughts on the JRPG scene, and anything you want to talk about JRPG specific?
Um, I don't know, man. It's a good time. And it makes me feel good. I'm excited for the next Tales game to come out. I'm excited for the Trails games, and I'm really excited to have a retrospective discussion on the Trails series
Oh boy,
because
Kaseki
um,
cast.
I'll be honest, there is some things that really bug me about this series, but it has a specific charm to it that I'm really excited to just kind of break down. Um, yeah, I mean it's crazy. It's like my childhood all over again. It's just way less time to do stuff, because we got
Yeah.
Final Fantasy and all these other more obscure franchises, and Dragon Quest is back, and it's a good time. It's a good time to be a gamer.
Hell yeah. So now that we've put a bow on our little weeb JRPG discussion, have you been paying attention to the? I guess I feel like this is like the underbelly of the gaming industry, but it's definitely a big part of the gaming industry, which is, of course, we always harp on the retro gaming community because that's famously, you and I come from collector backgrounds. That's where we cut our teeth. That's how
Naturally, yes,
we came in contact. So it's
yes.
definitely something that we are inherently tied to. So I was just browsing the internet one day, um, and I noticed that we got some beef in the retro game community, and yeah, you get blown away. We're like,
I
what?
don't.
But
I'm not. I'm not.
there's always beef and shade and fucking like just squabbles in the retro game community, and I think it's delicious.
Tell me about that. Spill the tea. I want to hear all about
So
this.
so Pat the NES Punk and Tommy Tallarico, who I guess was on Digital or Electronic Playground back in the G4 days. I don't really.
Tommy
He was a music
Tallarico.
composer.
Okay.
Who we'll get into what he's famous for, because to you and I,
Okay. I recognize this guy. Yep.
yeah, you
G4. I
recognize him.
remember him.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
where you and I know him from. But apparently, and I use this, you know, I use this term lightly. He's considered like a legend in like the game
All
industry.
right.
Yeah, like stretch, because he was a famous composer in the '90s. But we're gonna look at some of his works, because like he's famous and he's done some, I guess, notable things, but to me, I remain unimpressed. So some of his works, we're gonna go into his discography and stuff he's worked on. So
Can I interrupt you for just a second?
yes.
Because when you Google Tommy Tallarico, okay,
Mhm.
one of the first results that pops up is this um PETA poster, like
Oh no.
the animal
Yeah,
thing, and he did like an advertisement for them. It shows him playing guitar, and it says, "I'm Tommy Tallarico, and I'm, in big video game letters, vegan. A vegan
that's
saves the
amazing.
lives of more than 100 animals every year. Live with compassion for animals as well as caring for your health and the environment. Give veganism a try. PETA
Wow.
free for all. For more information, free stickers and DVDs, please visit PETA2.com. Video games live." So, like, this is like a comic book excerpt or something like that.
Hmm.
And as we know, PETA is an extremely crazy cult like organization.
Yeah, they do
And
some wild shit.
I feel like that had to have set up the story coming up.
Actually, it has nothing to do with it. But we're
Oh,
getting
okay.
into getting some context behind Mr. Tallarico. So he worked in 1991. He worked on Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Go ahead, I'll wait. Prince of Persia for the Game Boy. MC Kids, which I know, Muhammad Ali, heavyweight boxing, Jeep Jamboree Off-Road Adventure, The Terminator, Quality Assurance. He wrote the new soundtrack for the Sega CD version. You know, that platform that sold really well. He did Batman, The Revenge of the Joker. He did sound effects. He worked on the soundtrack for Another World in '93. '94, he did Demolition Man, Earthworm Jim. In '95, we have Madden, which, okay. So he's done, in a nutshell, he's done a lot of like games that I don't think are really meaningful. Maybe like the most important game he's done might be Oddworld, but like, uh,
But he's made a personality for himself.
yeah, like,
He
which
didn't do
good for him.
anything.
Yeah,
He didn't do anything that important, but he made a personality for himself,
right.
just like Kojima.
Yes. So he also now is. We're just gonna let that. We're just gonna let that go. He was the CEO of Intellivision for a while. Have you ever heard of the name
Okay,
Intellivision?
of course I have. That's
Yes.
weird.
So they're a company from back in the retro game days, like retro. Um, Basically, they're one of the companies who I blame for killing the video game industry in the 80s. But all right, so we're gonna get a little sidebar. So I, I like retro games. You like retro games,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
but there's this sect of people who predate the NES. And in my eyes, they're dinosaurs. So they are the Atari, ColecoVision, and Television, like all that nonsense that occurred before Nintendo came and was like, "Hey, like this is how you do video games." Where we were getting fucking ridiculous shit like, Quaker Oatmeal was making fucking video games on these goddamn platforms. That's how unregulated and just a mess pre NES video gaming was. So these people, I can't stand these fucking people. I'm gonna be honest, I can't. Like, I get it, you grew up with it, it's what you're nostalgic for, sure. Shut up. Like, nobody cares about your shitty ports of Pac-Man or playing Missile Command with your one joystick and the beeps and the boops, and like just that was I can't deal with that era of gaming. I can't. So when I see one of these companies get revived, like Intellivision's back, why? Why are you back? Why? And I'm gonna get into why I have a problem with this and what the beef is. So Tommy
Okay.
Tallarico revived Intellivision, and they made a console, or they're trying to make a console called the Intellivision Amico. Now go ahead and look that up. Go ahead.
Intellivision Amiga. Okay.
Yes.
Oh wow.
And
Google already knew what I was looking for
yes,
to listening.
and they started a Kickstarter, of course, because we fucking kickstart everything, and I hate Kickstarter. I think kickstarting, crowdfunding, like that is the shittiest, most shady business practice you can do. Because like, imagine telling your fans, "Hey, you guys front us the money, and then you get no revenue when this like takes off. Like we'll reap all the rewards, all that off your investment, your initial investment, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can get fucked. We'll make all the revenue and all that on our end, and that's it." So they kickstart this console, and it never comes to market. Now over the July 4th weekend, the trademark for the Intellivision Amico was listed as dead, like, and the patent office like dead, abandoned. Now, Intellivision has now come back and said, "Oh no, it's still very much in development, and we're giving refunds back to all the investors." But like, there's been a bunch of shady dealings with this console, and Pat the NES Punk famously has been tooting the horn, like, "Hey, this is fucked up. They're doing this, they're doing that," just doing a lot of whistleblowing and bringing a lot of awareness to this issue. And Tommy Tallarico, this motherfucker here, he's him and people on this website forum called Atari Age. So again, I preface this with saying these are people from the video game or from the retro gaming community that I can't fucking stand, that
Mm-hmm.
all are just worshiping him because he did some composing, and they feel like that he is their into the video game industry. He gives them credibility. He's like Billy Mitchell to them. Which, do you know who
Okay.
Billy Mitchell is?
Yeah. Fraud.
Yeah, that fucking guy. I put Tommy Tallarico in that same category as Billy Mitchell, where these guys who really haven't done anything, are viewed as it's like seminal figures in the retro gaming community. And I I feel like this is something we need to continue to shed light on, because like this Tommy Tallarico had a bunch of his guys like on Atari Age just straight slandering and trolling
What?
and attacking Pat the NES Punk, and saying all this crazy shit about them. And people who don't know who Pat the NES Punk is, he is
Old
one
school
of the
YouTuber.
old school YouTuber, one of the more famous collectors. Where he's definitely had some big influences in the retro gaming community. He wrote the complete NES guide, also the complete SNES guide, like the ultimate guide with like reviews on every single NES game and SNES game ever. So like he's an important figure, and he also did his character, which similar to the angry video game nerd, which Pat the NES Punk. So he did his like web series and stuff like that. So there's been this like bantering, bickering back and forth between like people who are fans of Pat the NES Punk and Tommy Tallarico's cronies, and I just think that when I hear this, why? What is the draw of like reviving a brand like in television? It's a very niche brand. Like, so let's say this console comes to market. So if you look on their website, you can't pre-order it,
Yeah.
but they're gonna charge. They were gonna charge $249 for this fucking thing.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and to, and it's just basically it reminds me of like remember the Ouya?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember you. Yeah,
Like all
not a
these
bad idea back in the day.
no,
By the
but
way.
like I feel like all these like galaxy brain ideas that, oh, we're going to make our own console, we're going to do this, we're going to create our own platform and bring it to market. Every single time it's dead on its ass. Like every single
Yes.
time like it
Yes.
happens, it just fucking falls flat. And I just don't get what the obsession is to bring back these brands that are fucking dead. Atari dead, ColecoVision dead, fucking Intellivision dead. The Commodore 64 Mini is being kickstarted. It's dead. It's dead. Leave it dead.
Yeah,
There are
I
reasons
agree.
why we don't want these things.
I'm more amazed that people view Tommy like he's a superstar
Yeah. Oh yeah.
because the dude hasn't done anything in video games like significant pretty okay, first off, pretty much ever. All right.
Yeah.
But I would say his most famous claim to fame is being on G4.
Yeah.
Because the games that you listed that he was like a composer for and whatnot, I mean, now he did video games live, but who cares, right? Like,
Yeah. Who gives a fuck? Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know, dude. The retro collecting community is wild because it like you said, it is a community that we used to be a part of. Very, and I don't
Yeah.
know I don't know how deep you are into it anymore. I'm
I'm
not
out.
at all. Yeah.
I'm out.
I don't even keep up with the community anymore. But I specifically remember now. I was much younger and more impressionable back then. But like these guys were all calling for like another video game crash and whatnot, and like they wanted the industry to like fail because and I, granted, like sure, there's like shady practices going on, but they were like actually like being like, I hope this whole industry collapses and blah blah blah, and it's like, what are we talking about, dude? Like we're just I'm just trying to like collect video games and talk about my favorite video games and whatnot, and then you got like these crazy fringe collectors who like
Mhm.
if it's not the glory days, they don't care. They don't want
Right.
anything to do with it, And I don't know, it's wild, man, because you'd think that it's all like part of nerd culture, it's all gaming culture, right? Everyone should just be happy, but now all of a sudden we have Tommy Talico versus Pat the NES Punk, and it's like, all right, what is going on here? I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know what
And,
else to say about it.
and they're not the only ones though, because Atari. Like I remember, I brought them up. So you can buy the Atari VCS. I'm on their website right now for $399.
Oh my god,
Now I'm
that's
gonna.
ridiculous.
And I didn't even know what this fucking thing does, but like from what I'm reading on it, it basically plays retro games and you can play it in PC mode and it like I don't understand why we are so hell bent on reviving these dead brands and what are these guys holding on to? Like I get like
See,
nostalgia, like I get I understand, but like do you see where the problem is? Where the Sega community isn't doing this shit. You don't you
yeah,
don't you don't see us crowdfunding fucking the Dreamcast too because we fucking know better. Like it just boggles my mind where
it's like these guys
how
never got over the spanking their favorite companies took in the 80s, right? Because
yeah
like Intellivision is not a worthy brand to be talking about
no
nowadays. It's part of video game history, sure, but
yeah
like it's over, bud. It's
yeah.
done. you know?
So
I
like
mean,
it just
I
blows
don't
my
know.
mind. It boggles my fucking mind because like let's say this console comes to market, right? Who's buying this? I
No one.
if you look on Intellivision's website where they go check out our games and they it's a link to a YouTube video. You know how many views that has?
Probably a couple hundred.
No, it's nothing to scoff at, but like if you're gonna bring a console to market, that's a fucking problem. It's got 120,000 views, which if that's a
Yeah.
video you and I put out, yeah, we're fucking through the roof, hell yeah. But like if you're bringing a console to market that you're gonna charge upwards of $250 for, and you think it's gonna be your into the video game market, and you're gonna build a platform that is profitable, like you are so deep in the niche. Like I'm not paying $249 to play a shitty 3D remake of Missile Command or like Super Breakout or fucking Joust or whatever the fuck I'm playing on that goddamn thing. And it just shows how I guess shady this sect of the community is, because there's so many vultures and sharks always trying to dig their hands into your fucking pockets and sell you nostalgia and rip you off on the back end, because this Atari VCS also dead on its ass. Nobody bought it,
Of
and
course it
it's
didn't.
still $400 fucking dollars for what? Why am I buying this?
Why would you want to buy an Atari VCS when you can just buy an Atari? You know,
Yeah,
that still works at a retro store. Also, I thought we had this experiment already with the Retron. Remember the Retron 5?
yeah, those things were pieces of shit. I have a Retron 5, and
Yeah,
it just sits in my basement fucking off where it needs to be.
you could sit there and you could play whatever you wanted on the Retron 5. It was 5 systems in one, and you could just play it, right?
Yeah.
And it was a good idea if you were part of the retro collecting community. But like the thing is, dude, you don't need to even play these games. There's a digital version of almost everything,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it's better. And like, if you want to collect your games and have your collection, that's fine. I totally support that. But what are we doing trying to revive in television?
No,
You
we're,
know?
we're fucking up. That's what we're doing, and I'm so glad you brought up the Retron 5 because I hadn't even thought of this. So Hyperkin was the company behind the Retron 5,
Yes.
and I don't know, like you and I both worked at the same retro game store. Shout out to Elite Games. I don't know who owns you anymore, but shout out to you. Anyway, we sold. I feel like we were Hyperkin fucking salesmen because
Yeah.
you remember I don't know, we cut some weird fucking deal with them that we would get flooded with these fucking things and we'd have to sell them. And I remember the Retrons were so fucking trash that
Oh, they were the cheapest.
they were
things you could buy.
horrible. They were horrible, and like we had to like sit there and be like, "Oh no, yeah, this you can do this, it plays this." And then finally, the Retron 5 came out, and like I remember when we had our meeting and we were like, "Oh, like this actually has some decent features. 5 consoles, you can even play Game Boy games on them." And then it had the feature where it was region unlocked, where you could play Super Famicom games on it, and if you were really fucking savvy, you could get the translation patches. And so some of these high dollar SNES games and Genesis games that were, the Japanese versions were cheaper, you could have them and then have the English translation patch on there, and you were, good to go, bada bing, bada boom. And then they showed us that fucking controller, man.
Oh yeah,
that
cheap crap controller.
Yeah, and I remember losing my shit because that controller was crap. Yeah, you could buy a controller and plug it in and all that, whatever. But the controller it came with was crap. It was infrared, and when you would try to take your cartridge out of the slot, the pins on it were so tight. I remember on my Retron, I'm on my 3rd Retron, and I haven't even I haven't touched it since because like when I went to pull a Genesis game out, I ripped the fucking pin right out because it was so tight. Like I'm like yanking on, I'm like, what the fuck? And it broke. And I remember so many of them coming in broken with that same problem. And I just remember like Hyperkin, like how does this come to market and you guys don't know this? And again, it just ties into the shady fucking practices and the, I guess malicious intent with some of these companies where they're looking to rip people off who just want their nostalgia. Like, who just want to, like, some people just want to be able to play their retro games on their HDTV, and you fucked them. And now you got these people coming in and just, like, picking at these dead brands like they're vultures. It's sad to see, to be honest, because, like, now when people grew up with Atari, think, oh, great. You and I see Atari, we're like, whoa, fucking, whoa, no.
Yeah.
Like,
Hasn't done
thank you
anything
for the
great in 30
mediocre
years.
Budokai games that came out like in PS2, but other than that, we want nothing to do with you, pal. Like, you can stay dead. Like, and same with in television. Like, you get to exist in the hook up my console with the controller to the AVs. Like, that gets to be you. That's your existence now. Don't come in here and try to sell me a fancy fucking HD console for fucking $400. And the rabbit hole with this in television Amico is so deep, where they started a Kickstarter, failed to meet their goal, allegedly were going to refund the people who invested, but they put no timetable on the refunds because they spent all the fucking investment money, so they can't pay these people back.
Of
And
course.
now these people who are waiting on their refunds are just in fucking limbo. You'll get your refund whenever, pal. You can, and this is Tommy Tallarico, who now stepped down as CEO, and now there's another guy who took over, and they're trying to do damage control. But what they failed to mention was in television, their new initiative. I guess at one point their offices were cleared out. These guys ghosted.
Oh, they
Which,
just dipped.
yeah, they
They just
dipped.
all
Like,
left.
Kotaku put out a report that their offices were abandoned.
Oh my
So,
god.
so yeah, there's been all this mudslinging and all this like just meltdowns about the stupid fucking in television in the retro gaming community, and I'm gonna give Pat some shade for this too, because him and Tommy Tallarico is, I think, 54 years old, and
God.
I think Pat's in his 40s. So these are grown ass fucking men like squabbling over fucking old ass video game brands and just stupid shit. And I feel like this is a window into the future, because like, what if that's us, buddy?
Dude, that's not gonna be us though, because we're not pussies. All right, dude. Like, I don't have the time of day anymore for these kind of internet squabbles, dude. Like, you'll get maybe one or two text replies from me, but like the old school days of YouTube, like making 20-minute videos, like replying to each other, trashing each other, and just going to town. No, like, hey, roll up your cuffs and just beat the shit out of each other. All right. There is, hey, you want to talk about like cashing in and making money? There is a massive opportunity right now to have YouTube celebrity boxing match. All right,
Yeah,
between Tommy Tallarico and Pat the NES Punk.
I would 100% watch this.
If you guys have so much beef that you're sitting here over the course of a long amount of time, and like you're setting up like trolling attempts, and like have your posses going after each other, just meet in the ring and beat the shit out of each other. You're grown ass men. Do it like grown ass men, because what are we accomplishing otherwise? All right. That's all I gotta say about that, because I'm sick of people, these grown ass men getting on and having internet drama.
It's
I'm over it, dude. Like, dude, hey, do yourself a favor, put your phone down or turn off the camera once in a while and just do something else. Like, it's okay. It drives me crazy.
Yeah,
Drives me crazy.
definitely some fucking toxicity, and it's just, and this is the retro gaming community, and that's why I say it's like the underbelly of like the gaming scene, because there's just these fucking just scumbags and douchebags and just
Oh yeah.
assholes. And they're great people too. They're cool people. Like, I'm in some groups that are really cool, and I like seeing people's collection, and I get jealous of other people's game rooms. So like, that's how I still engage with the collecting scene. But as far as like being an active collector and being like a active part of this community, I'm out, because I can't
Yeah.
deal with the gatekeeping. I can't deal with the why aren't you spending more money trying to find the rare games? Why are you buying cheap stuff? Like, or when people get upset when like an HD remaster will come out of a game because your copy of a game just lost value. Like, all right, asshole, no one told you to keep 4 Earthbounds and hoard them because you're gonna fucking scalp them. Like, go fuck yourself.
I
So it's
remember when Final Fantasy VII was an
Black Label,
$80
baby.
game. An
Woo!
$80 game. Dude,
Yeah.
and then it made me so happy when the digital version of it came out on PS3 and the price dropped all the way down to $20. Because
Yeah.
it's not even a rare game. People were
No.
holding on to it because other people wanted it. Like, the retro collecting community has always been like spiteful like that.
Yeah. Or here's the other thing the retro gaming community does, and it's the last thing we'll talk about on it. Remember the whole thing about people were like, "Oh, I don't want that. It's a greatest hits label. It's worth less
Oh yeah.
money." Same fucking game. I'm like, dude, fuck you, man. I used to hate people like that. Granted, those labels were ugly until
They
they
were
they
ugly.
started until they started doing the PS3 red label. Mwah, love that. But like,
Well, also remember the PS3 blue label? That was sweet.
yeah, I
They,
remember
they,
the
they
blue
did it for
label.
a few games on PS3, and they
Yeah.
came out with the blue label ones. But I agree with you. The PS3 red label was also cool.
Yes. Last piece of advice I will give: go buy Drakengard 3. Those of you collector guys out there, that is a late release, exclusive, blue label PS3 game.
Yes,
So go ahead and get it out
yes,
there. Go ahead and get it. So
can't miss it.
now that I have segued, it's funny I bring up Drakengard 3 and Nier and Yoko Kataro, I think that's his name. And you've been hearing this stuff about the church door. Have you been seeing this?
Are you talking about the controversy with the hidden door and
Yeah,
Nier
the
Automata?
hidden door.
I
And
was all over this controversy. This past, I was all in, dude. I was having such a blast because it's the type of game, right? It's the type of game where you could believe this would happen.
yeah, it was
Did
so
you like?
believable.
Are you all caught up on everything that
I,
happened?
I'm aware. I'm aware that it's a mod, and they finally
Yeah,
came out, and they're gonna do. They're gonna put out some tool set and reveal some more stuff. And if you have the PC version of Nier Automata, that you're gonna be able to access that stuff. But I like how they rolled it out because I thought it was strange that one guy discovered it randomly, and he was the only guy who could replicate it, and that's what the big red flag was for me. Like, that's fucking weird, man.
see, it wasn't for me though because these games are riddled with secrets. And now, Nier Automata is, in my opinion, one of the greatest games of all time.
Oh,
It
okay.
is it is a complete work of art, and it tells a great story. And the way it changes every time you play it, and the way you really have to play through it like 3.5 times to get the entire perspective, and how there's hidden characters and there's secrets around every corner. When they discovered the hidden door, it sent this dude. It was so hilarious to see. It sent this community into
Into a frenzy.
absolute shambles. Like they were like, "What is going on?" Because it was thought to be impossible to mod the game to this extent.
Yeah.
And my first reaction was, okay, well, it's not a mod. They just went back and patched the game to create this controversy to announce the next game. That's what I thought was going
Which
on.
would have been fucking cool.
Yes, that's what I thought was going on. They were waiting for someone to. They knew someone was going to discover this door at some point and make a post about it. But this community was thrown into absolute shambles for like 3 days, and then he had the live stream last night, and it turned out to be just a mod, and everyone was mad, and some people were like, "Actually, you know what? This was a pretty fun event. Like, I'm glad this
Uh-huh.
happened." They were actually pretty cool about it, and I was
Yeah.
like, "You know what? God bless this community. This is a
It
great
was pretty
community."
cool. I agree. Like, it was cool because like it drew attention and buzz back into a game that I haven't finished it, but I played like 7 or 8 hours. Like, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed my time with it. And I love that there was a buzz and like, oh shit, are we gonna get a new game? Oh fuck. And then like the creator kind of was very coy about it. He kind of played into it. He didn't come out and be
Yep.
like, no. And I respect that he did that because like he just let the community be organic and just have fun with it. And I really respect these guys for doing this mod, and I'm excited to see what they do with it next. And I hope eventually, we do get a new announcement in that franchise. Like, I feel like I hope they give us something, like, because I think there needs to be a payoff.
Dude, I absolutely love the Nier community because although I'm not the biggest Nier fan, I think this community is so awesome. And like dude, it is the last place in the gaming community really where it's a mainstream game with like super hot, sexy female characters, right?
Yeah,
When even the slightest bit of controversy arises, Yoko Taro just doubles down. He's like, "No, I make characters that I want to look at."
I respect it, and no one gives. I mean, and people
And
when he does it, they're like,
everyone's
okay,
like, all right, fine, whatever, dude, sexist asshole. And then they all move on to someone else who actually cares, who they can get under their skin. This
yeah,
dude wears this ridiculous mask
I love it.
everywhere he goes. There's this giant helmet mask thing everywhere he goes, and his community just accepts everything that happens to them, right? They're
Hmm.
just like, oh, there's Nier Replicant. All right, this chick has like a dick at the end of the game, and you tricked us all the whole time. All right, that's fine. And they're just like, oh, okay. There's these crazy secrets. Yeah, I guess that makes total sense. And okay, the story somehow connects to Drakengard 1 and 3 but not 2 makes total sense. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, whatever, man. I love the Nier community. I think they're so cool.
Can you believe that? Like, have you ever played the original Drakengard?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so like that game is like Dynasty Warriors. That's what it reminded me of. Like
Yeah.
very much like in that ilk. So it's crazy to think that like all of this spanned from that fucking game where it's like the near universe is like based off one of the endings in that game. Like it's wild. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
it's
agree.
the ending where like they come into the real world and then like it unleashes a virus that wipes out humanity or something.
Yeah.
There's amazing lore breakdowns of Drakengard and how it connects to Nier, and the story is ridiculous, right? It doesn't make any sense, but it's because it doesn't make any sense that the community just accepts whatever. And the games are super philosophical and they tell a great story.
Hmm.
And I don't know, man. I'm all about the Nier community. I think they're awesome. I think they're great. The music in Nier Automata is amazing, and
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I just this whole event this past week has just doubled down in my mind. I'm like how amazing and how great that community is.
Yeah. So is this your favorite hoax? Is this your favorite gaming hoax so far in your gaming career?
Oh God, I
Is it up there with Missing No? Is it up there with Um, is it up there with what's one another famous one now that I'm thinking about it? Oh, where Luigi being in Super Mario 64? Like is it up there with Legend of Zelda hoax where you can get the Triforce in Ocarina of Time? Is it up there in the pantheon of hoaxes? It has to be,
I
right?
think I think so because it's not very often that they actually tricked the entire community. Like
Yeah.
they got one over on them, and I think
Mhm.
that's actually really cool. I mean, it might be the Pokemon ones. It's a little unfair, right? Because that was more like rumors and glitches of a game that barely ran.
Yeah.
Um, but I think this might be my favorite one. It's hard to say. I'd have to look at like a list of them.
I love a good gaming hoax because like especially the ones where the pre-internet ones because they're just like you would try to spend hours trying to figure it out and then when then later on it's like when you found out Santa wasn't real. It's kind of like oh. So
Um,
I don't know.
yeah,
Like
I
I
don't
love
know.
a good hoax.
I'm trying to see like a list of like the best video game hoaxes. Oh, there was the Find Bigfoot in San Andreas.
I
That's a
thought that
pretty
one
good
was
one.
dumb. I remember that.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm like, where the fuck is you gonna see Bigfoot? Like, because I remember in San Andreas, like you would spend a significant time out in those, like basically where the redwoods were, and like I don't remember seeing any like, and because I had played a significant amount of San Andreas and never saw. It. I'm like, really?
I will say the game rant has number 3 as Final Fantasy VII Save Eris,
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
and that one might be my favorite because people just never gave up.
No, she was such a beloved character.
They were just like, no, we're gonna. They actually got so desperate they were going to mod the game to
That's
save
amazing.
Eris. And it's like, okay, fine, whatever. But there is like one weird scene where she has like animation and voice lines that
Hmm.
change if you mod the game to keep her alive afterwards.
Oh wow.
So at some point the game must have been rearranged or something where she did appear later on in the game. So
Yeah. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was definitely good buzz around the near community, and it's good. Like I said, it's good to see a good gaming hoax, and I like it when communities are buzzing and they have hope again in life and they're vibrant because again, near came out how long ago,
oh,
so
2017, I
so
think.
so the fact that this community's still so passionate about that game, and I'm not sure if they're passionate about Replicant. I think it's a great game, but I haven't really heard as much about it as I do Automata, which
Well,
is
it's just
now
a
coming to
remake of
Switch,
the.
correct?
I'm not sure. I didn't hear that. It's just a remake of the first game, right?
Yeah, I
Gotcha.
never played. I missed Nier on PS3. Like I never touched it. So I have the PS4 version, and I was like 10 hours in, and I was enjoying what I played. But I forget something came out that pulled me away. But I think it's still a great game. I love the soundtrack. I still listen to the soundtrack like just about pretty frequently.
I
Really
gotta
great
play Nier
soundtrack.
Replicant. I gotta finish the playthroughs of Nier Automata too. I haven't done every single playthrough of them.
Yeah, I haven't touched or I haven't played enough of Nier Automata to have like a good opinion on it, but I know it's good. So it's like I'll get there. So now that we're bringing up communities, and again, I love this conversation because we've had a lot of great segues tonight,
Yep.
and now this leads to the final topic of the evening, Bungie. Have you been keeping up with what they've been doing as of late?
I know the last thing I heard about Bungie was when they threw a fit because PlayStation said it not be political. But that's the last I heard about. Is that what
So
you're talking about?
no, so Bungie, to their credit, they're very protective of their IP. They're very protective of their brand, and to their credit, they're very protective of their community. So there's been a controversy where a YouTuber was posting Destiny music videos, just of uploading the music. He bought a soundtrack and he was uploading the music to YouTube on his channel. And hang on, I'll pull up the lawsuit here. Yes. So Destiny 2 YouTube takedown revenge plot leads to $7.6 million lawsuit.
Oh my god.
So
They went
uh,
after the kid, huh?
yeah, they went after this fucking guy. Uh, so I'm gonna read a brief excerpt. This is from Kotaku, but so bear with me here. So Bungie was hit with DCMA takedown, so copyright strikes, in March of this year. Bungie announced that the notices were fraudulent, and weeks later it took the matter to court in an effort to get Google to disclose the identity of whoever was responsible. As Bungie pointed out at the time, part of the reason for the fraudulent takedown notices, they were able to escalate them because they use an outside company, and this guy like posed as that outside company. And when Bungie got the report, it noticed that like it had an email that didn't really match, so they went after this guy, and of course Google was like, oh well, get a subpoena and we'll give it to you. Like Google is being dicks, which isn't I guess a shocker, but
No, like a lot of people have problems with the YouTube DMCA
yeah, and I
policies and
guess
stuff like that.
so. This guy had a fucking Joker moment, basically, where his name's Lord Nazo, and he goes by the name of Nick
That's
Miner.
awesome.
And
What do
this
you mean the
motherfucker,
nickname Nick Miner? Like what?
no, he goes by the name. That's his name.
I thought you meant.
Yeah, but he
Okay.
goes by Lord Nazo on YouTube, and he's the one responsible for the personal or for the DSMA. So what happened was he was uploading, Bungie owned music and putting it on his channel, and Bungie was like, "Hey, that's ours, copyright strike." And he so what he did when he got this copyright strike, he waited till he left those videos up until the maximum time that he had to take them down, and then he just let YouTube take them down. And then he did it again. He uploaded them again, and Bungie again hit him with a copyright strike. And so this gentleman had a fucking Joker moment, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna have my revenge. And he exploited a hole in YouTube's copyright strike where you and I could copyright strike Nintendo and claim to be them, and there's no
Yeah.
vetting process. And so what he did was he went through the channels and was copyright striking. I think grand total he did 96 of them, and then he started targeting like prominent YouTubers in the Destiny community. So a guy named Esoteric he got. My name's Biff or whatever his name is. One of the famous lore masters of Destiny, and like
What?
yeah, and it gets better. It gets fucking better. So also what this motherfucker was doing was he was playing both sides. He was like sending out these copyright strikes, and then in the community be like, oh, I can't believe Bungie's doing this. And then when Bungie came out and said these were fraudulent, he was one of the people tweeting, oh, who could do this? I hope you guys get to the bottom of this. Like this guy's a fucking straight villain. Like
That is awesome.
this is like a super villain plot. Like I So Destiny or Bungie, they finally get the subpoena to Google, and Google turns over their records, and they start noticing discrepancies in the emails and where they originated from, and they started noticing they were from the same IP. They also noticed that the IP address logged into Destiny, so this motherfucker was actively playing Destiny too at the time
What?
too.
What was his
And
goal? He was just trying to like cause mischief and like burn the
he was
ship down, or
he was pissed off that they hit him with copyright strikes for the video, so he got butthurt about it, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna expose a hole in this, and show that just anybody can do it. But he was also like attacking his own community. He was like salty that other players or Bungie had embraced to be part of the community, and because Bungie understands like the way their community or the game thrives is based on the community and how it's vibrant and how they're allowed to make their own content based off the game, and it's supported. And I guess he felt like he had been slighted for uploading music to a channel and monetizing it that he didn't own. So he does this, and um, Destiny, or I keep saying Destiny, Bungie went in on this guy. Like if you took if you look at the lawsuit document, I want to pull up an excerpt from it because they say some savage shit in this document. Or hang on, I'm trying to find the excerpt here. So I'm gonna paraphrase, but basically they say that they're doing this lawsuit because he damaged their brand and potentially attempted to damage their community, and they want to make sure they protect their brand from people foolish enough to attack their community. And the way it's worded is like
foolish.
foolish enough. And,
You
they're
you
like, you fool,
sniveling worm! Like, how dare
dude.
you?
And they use other words like when describing like how going through Google, like how to get the info. They're like Google and its Byzantine-esque practices.
What?
Like whoever wrote this fucking lawsuit document, I encourage you to look at it because like it's too long for me to read on the podcast. But like I encourage anyone who's listening, I encourage you, sir, to go look at it. There's also a bunch of really good YouTube videos breaking it down. But like Bungie stopped this motherfucker out. Like they fucking Thanos snapped them out of existence. Like you're dead. So,
That's awesome.
but it brings up a interesting topic where Bungie is one of those companies where they're well liked. Like their fans love them, and they don't have a bad reputation in the gaming industry. So they do
Right.
something like this, and we're like, yeah, get him, fuck this guy. But like Nintendo does it, and Nintendo gets a lot of shade for this because if you upload a Nintendo soundtrack or anything with Nintendo in it, and you're not like a partner, they're gonna copyright strike your ass.
Yeah, they're
You
assholes.
you say the word Nintendo, you might get some smoke. But
Yeah.
like Bungie, they've built up such goodwill, I guess, and it's crazy because remember they were with Activision after that post Halo, and
Yes.
so they like there was a lot of hate, and you remember famously Destiny 2 came out and was like, ooh, and they had to work really hard to get that to a place where the community was happy, and they've really been putting out a lot of really good content lately. But like they also famously had a falling out with Marty O'Donnell, which like the
I
famous
don't know who that is.
the guy who composed the Halo soundtrack.
Oh, the legend who like.
Yeah, that legend, and he did some tracks for Destiny that they never fucking published because like they had a big falling out with him, lawsuits, all that good shit, and for them to go to that PR mess to where they are now, where they can sue members of their own community for pulling bullshit, like I just think it's fucking fascinating. So after hearing this movie-esque supervillain fucking plot, what are your thoughts, sir?
Dude, I'm on a roller coaster of emotions because at first I was rooting for this Joker villain because his strategy was just burn the whole ship down. And I knew it was when you even started the story, I knew it was going to be over something completely trivial.
Yeah,
Like
so petty.
it wasn't like Bungie came in and stabbed this guy's wife or something. Like it was going to be something super trivial, which it was. He was doing something he knew he shouldn't have done, and he got caught, and he just wanted to burn the whole ship down. But the fact that he was still playing it, he was
Yeah,
like still actively like playing and engaging with the community, is like the first twist, right? But then like I was originally rooting for him, and then when you told me the way Bungie handled the situation, I was like, oh no, that is something else. That is pretty sweet because, dude, no one has had the nuts, the sack to challenge YouTube's DMCA policy,
Mm-hmm.
and usually when that happens, it's like a done deal. It's like, okay, whatever. Like, you could fight this in court, but you're probably gonna lose. And also, who's gonna fight Google in court? But Bungie's like, nah, not us. Mm-mm. You know who you're messing with? We made Halo. All right,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, that was pretty sweet. The calling Google a Byzantine Empire is like pretty awesome.
Dude, yeah, they are they are fucking savages for this because like they make a dick out of this guy in this lawsuit. Like they really make this guy out to be a fucking asshole.
Well, he is, right? I
Yeah,
mean, that's why he was so funny.
yeah, and it's interesting to see what's gonna happen because like this guy's probably gonna lose this lawsuit pretty hard because Bungie they have all the emails he sent, all the tweets that he was saying. Like he even had like a fucking manifesto of admitting to everything like online, like written that they found. So they have all that, and it's uh it's all written in this lawsuit, and it's just it's just crazy. And here's another excerpt that's crazy. So Bungie's lawsuit said the takedowns issued by CSC on its behalf were legitimate, and that the email manifesto, like, so this guy had a whole manifesto admitting everything. They quote, the manifesto reads like a hackneyed "look what you made me do" letter from the serial
Oh
killer in a
my
bad novel.
god.
They fucking come at this fucking guy hard.
They just
And
brutalize him.
yeah, and like I said, I respect who wrote this because like there's fucking like just corporate fucking rage in this email or in this lawsuit document, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see where somebody gets their fucking comeuppance for being an asshole. But you know, like you said, he's like a fucking villain that you could respect because he has a point.
Yes.
He's almost like Killmonger in Black Panther, where he has a fucking point. He's wrong, but he has a fucking point,
Yes.
and I can respect that about a good villain. So it's definitely interesting to see what's gonna happen. Like again, I don't know how he's gonna come out of this because like if you lose a lawsuit for $7.6 million, like I don't know what's happening to you, buddy.
You just declare bankruptcy, I think. I mean, there was a whole bunch of people that got smashed in the early 2000s over like the LimeWire and Napster thing, and I don't think a single one of them paid anything. Or like a couple $100 eventually they settled for, or something like that. It was more to make a statement and like scare other people.
Yeah. So I think the other famous lawsuit that I remember is Nintendo sued a guy because he like uploaded he played a game before Street Date. Like remember that was a thing where you'd get a game and like if God forbid you could play it, but you went online, that was your ass.
Yeah.
So like that was one of those lawsuits where, and of course it's Nintendo. They sued the ever living shit out of him. And but yeah, like I don't really remember any other instances of like lawsuits where the company has come after a guy this hard, where like Bungie put in the work to get
Yeah.
this guy.
Make
Like
an
they
example
worked
out of him.
for it.
Make sure no one else steps on our feet ever again. Like, we're gonna eliminate him. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
I respect it.
I agree, man. Like I respect the villainy and the heroism shown by Bungie. So
Yeah.
those are just some of the things that I've noticed in the gaming community. Like I said earlier in the week, you know, when you and I were messaging about before, I had a lot to say because like
Yeah.
there's just some things going on. But do you have anything in closing for our wonderful show so we could put a bow on this bad boy? It's been a great
This is
show.
This has been a good episode. It's only up from here, Paige. I think we're getting our
Yes,
feet out under us. And listen, the alpha nerds are back.
we are back.
And we're running through this motherfucker with a sickle. All right, cutting
Yes,
out the fat.
yes.
And
Very,
if you're a
very much
games
so.
journalist, fuck you. Meet me in the ring. I'll beat your ass.
You heard it here first, folks. He's taking challengers. If you want we want to promote this fight, let's make it happen. I think there's probably a hit list you could have of of your top 5 opponents, and we'll send out some feelers like, hey, guy from random town, Pennsylvania, wants to throw hands with you. Are you in?
Dude, I have this dream, all right? This fucking dream, because this is how little I think of like these Twitter warriors, the video game journalists, of having like a Mortal Kombat ladder exhibition, right?
Hell yeah,
Where there's just 8 of them lined up, and I just take one night and eliminate the whole games industry.
that's awesome.
You got Greg Miller on there, Tim
Mm,
Geddes. You
yeah,
get
you could have your own
that dude,
comic book arc. Seth kills the gaming industry, almost like
that
Deadpool
dude,
kills the Marvel universe.
yeah, that dude John Phipps, that who like causes all kinds of drama,
I don't
and
even
like
know who that is.
yeah, he's like a former Marine, and hides behind that constantly to like make fun of people and bully people, and I'm sick of it. Dude, listen, these guys don't have the heart, Pedro. All right,
No.
they don't have the heart to handle a liver shot.
No,
I
I
know,
don't
I
have the
know.
heart to handle a liver shot. That shit hurts, man.
Remember that was our favorite thing to watch in
Yeah,
MMA for
dude,
the
and
longest
it's
time.
like the most painful fucking thing in the world.
Yeah,
Where
you see these professional fighters who can handle getting their like joints and arms cranked on, but the second they take a liver shot, it's over. They
yeah,
just crumble.
I mean, taking liver shots is my liver hurts talking about it. So like that that's something that these guys like. I don't know. Not that I want to spend a ton of time harping on it, but these guys in the gaming community, especially these journalists, there is zero accountability with these fucking guys. Like,
Oh, zero.
and that's what my biggest problem is. Like, they just say these like this wild and inflammatory shit, and like no one, like their bosses never come and like, yo, like what are you doing? Like, there's never anybody gets taken to task unless you don't agree with them politically. Then they're all over your shit, and I
Yep.
just can't with I can't. Like some like I know I cited Kotaku because that was the first article that came up, but like some of the stuff they tweet is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's
And
insane.
IGN's starting to become the same way. And I know, it on other podcasts, like it's been said that like these websites are dying, and it sucks because it shouldn't have to be that way. Like
Nope.
I still believe that a site can still thrive. I still believe even like you remember like video game magazines and stuff like that. I still think there's a niche market for that, and like there are communities that will support it, but they make it so toxic where you have these internet warriors like you said, like, oh, hey, and it's fine politically, you can be more liberal and more socialist. Like, I don't personally care. Like, do I agree with all that? No. But like, am I going to sit there and tell you what to believe? No. But don't tell me to fucking like act a certain way or believe a certain thing or vote a certain way. Like, don't do that. Like, it's a two-way
Yeah.
street. And then you have these guys, these fans of these people who essentially in my eyes are simps, where like you look at people who, oh, this gaming personality from whatever website who just so happens to be a female and plays video games. So, oh, I like that. I'm going to simp after everything she says and does because I think it'll get me acknowledgement, and people say, oh, I think like she thinks, she might like me now, or I might get reassurance now. And it sucks that people think that way. And we've gotten so far away from thinking for ourselves. I think it's like very chronic, man. It's not an acute issue. It's a very
Oh yeah.
chronic issue in the gaming industry, and it sucks.
Absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of it is just fed by like these guys who have these communities, and the weird thing is that I think the human race is still trying to adapt to having like a worldwide connection, right? Because we're not supposed to. We haven't evolved for this. But then
No.
you get these guys who have like these followings, and before the pre-internet age, you would call it a cult.
Yeah.
But nowadays, because there's it's the internet age, they have all these followers, and all these followers do whatever they tell them to do, right? Um, they just get away with it, and I'm
It
telling you, man.
sucks.
And you know what? George Loftus hurt my pride when he said he didn't think I could take Greg Miller, and I am telling you right now, Greg, if you ever see this, roll him up. roll up and I'll fold you like a chair after church. It's done.
You heard it here first, folks. I, for the record, think you could take him, but I also know I know you a lot better than I know Greg Miller. So unless Greg is some sort of secret fucking top tier martial artist that we were unaware of, I like your chances.
Thank you. I
So,
appreciate that.
hey, gang, this has been our show. Follow us on YouTube, or excuse me, subscribe to us on YouTube at Alpha Nerds. We will be continuing to upload content in the coming weeks. We're still working on getting social media tied around, just because I don't really, I kind of want to do a Twitter. I don't, just because I have my thoughts and feelings on it. But once I make a decision, we will roll out a Twitter or Instagram. I haven't decided what platform we're going to go on. I'm leaning more towards Instagram because I feel like it's just easier to do.
I kind of like an Instagram feed.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think it's just easier. It's less of a headache, and I just think we can just really just put out what we want and not worry about any of the fluff or the stupidity that goes on. Because I feel like Instagram, I could be way wrong on this, but is way less toxic than Twitter from my perspective. So,
yeah,
that's what's going to be coming out in the coming weeks. But until then, Seth, do you have any closing thoughts?
Live fast, eat ass.
Live fast, eat ass. You heard it here, folks. Thank you. That's been our show. We will catch you guys next week.